Hello everyone, welcome back to the Perfection Studios YouTube channel. So this is going to be the beginning of a wedding photography series for beginners. Now over the years I've shot quite a few weddings, both as a main shooter and secondary shooter. I've garnered just a ton of information, a ton of knowledge on wedding photography through YouTube, through online courses, through guides. And so I want to put all that stuff into just one place so you don't have to go searching the interwebs to try to find information on how to shoot a wedding if this is your first time and you're trying to make your way into wedding photography. So first and foremost, what are details? Now details are all the major pieces of clothing and also the accessories that the bride and groom are going to be wearing on their special day. Also, it might include small things that they're going to enjoy throughout the day. Sometimes it's a bottle of wine, sometimes it's cigars, stuff like that. But anything that's going to tell the story, small things that are going to tell the story of their day, then I want to get a shot of that. Now, the couple spent a lot of time, effort, and money to get these things for their special day. So we're going to give these things a small photo shoot. All right, let's get to it. All right, so a lot of hotel rooms can kind of look like this, just a really small space. Now, usually when I enter the space, what am I doing? I'm looking for a table and I'm looking for a window, right? The two things I'm looking for, a table and a window, because I want somewhere where I can put all these small details and I want to light it. So usually, honestly, I'm not afraid to go in and start shifting things around. So as I ask the bride or the bridesmaids, if the bride is unavailable, for the details, and usually I try to discuss with the bride ahead of time that, hey, that's one of the first things I want to do when I get to the hotel or get to wherever, is that I want to start shooting details. So please just have everything together in like a Ziploc bag or something for me, which will include like her rings, the groom's rings, and also like her shoes, her any necklaces, any earrings, anything of that nature, right? So I'm asking her to just kind of keep everything together in one place so it's easy to find and so we don't have any issues later, right? So so I have a table here. It's not directly in the light. It has a lamp on it. There's a window right over here. So I'm going to reposition this table to over there so that we can get some light, some window light, right? All right, so another thing I want to do is, because now I have some video lights on here, but what I will try to do is get rid of all the overhead lights. Like these lights that are above, the fluorescent lights, I don't want those, right? I want just nice, clean, directional light for my shots. And now let's get rid of the overhead light. All right. Now we're in complete darkness. No, not really. But yeah, so now that I have the table positioned in front of the light, in front of the window, now I can start building what you call a lay flat. Now, these lay flats are probably one of the more popular ways of shooting details, right? And what it is just literally getting your details onto one location and just arranging it in an artistic way to create, you know, a beautiful image. All right, so let's give that a go. All right, so let's gather some details. Let's see what we got. How your lay flat looks is going to be dependent on the type of details your bride and groom will have. All right, so sometimes they'll have an invitation. Now this isn't an actual invitation, this is just one of my fridge magnets. And so they'll have invitations that will kind of look something like that, right? You'll also have, you know, shoes. There might be some jewelry. I have this little thing that I got as a favor from a wedding that I went to also. All right, and then last but not least, you'll have like earrings, and you'll have the groom's ring, which is actually my ring in this demonstration, and also the bride's ring, which is my wife's, right? So here we go. So now it's just a matter of putting this in an order that looks good, that looks, you can go with a more symmetrical look. You can go with something that's more messy. All right, so let's do something symmetrical really, really quick to see how that will look, right? So you can start wherever you want to start. If we're doing symmetrical here, I would start with the invitations because they already have some sharp edges, right? And then maybe on one end, you can put the rings can be right here. And this is me just kind of piecing it together. I have no plan here. I'm just experimenting, right? There's one ring there. I'm probably going to put another ring right there, right? And so maybe the earrings will go over here. Right, and that's where we are with our lay flat already. It's not terrible. All right, and I'm going to put, since the earrings are up here, kind of in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to put these over there in the lower left. I'm looking for, on the shoe, I'm looking for a special feature on the shoe, right? Why did the bride buy the shoe? Maybe it was because of this is what, like a 4-inch heel, right? So I'm going to show that off. And so I'm going to probably put it like that. Maybe? Okay? And then I'm going to put this one over here. Something like that. All right, let's get the camera and let's fire this off. Now let's see about that. How is this thing? I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit. Right? And so now that's the frame I have. Whoops, I got a timer on it. Okay, so now I can see what's going on. I can actually probably readjust just a little bit. Now what's happening is that the shoes can also cast a shadow, and so I don't want that in the shot, right? All right, so there we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, one more. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll get a couple of different angles of the same thing. Make sure everything is lined up properly. And in some of the shots I'm framing, like for instance right now I am doing some close-ups of the ring. Okay, so the focus and distance with this lens, this is my Nifty 50 lens, Sony Nifty 50 1.8. The focus distance with that lens is absolute trash, right? So I'm going to get this barrel extender. If you don't have a macro lens, then this thing is, I don't know if you can see it, I'll show a picture of it or something. If you don't have a macro lens, then this will work really, really good. It'll help your camera to focus a little bit closer, or help your lens to focus a little bit closer. So I'm gonna put that on here, and then attach this barrel extender. All right. Now I'm able to get really close in. Of course, it now helps to actually manual focus. All right, so what if the bride has a veil, right? This is not a natural veil. This is just a curtain that can kind of look like a veil. Veils are the texture is a lot finer, but we're gonna use this anyways, right? What if the bride has a veil? Let's use the veil in the shot. Let's move all this stuff out the way, right? And so I'm just gonna, now you try your best not to crush her veil, right? That's, you don't want to do that. Or if you do by mistake, then just ask one of the bridesmaids or something to steam it out for you. Usually someone has a steamer and you just find a way to steam it, right? Now with the messy lay flat, I'm just gonna kind of haphazardly put the veil just down on a surface, right? And this is assuming that I don't have like a nice surface with, because this has nice wood grain and stuff like that. So this is okay. But if you don't have something that has a nice texture on it, then I find like this is a good way to shoot your lay flat. You know what, this thing is really long, so I'm gonna just include it. I'm not gonna fight this thing. I'm gonna just include it in the shot. So what I'm generally gonna do, I'm just gonna put my shoe down, pretty much kind of framing the shot at either angles, something like that, right? And then this is where this is gonna come in. I'm just gonna find a good place. I'm probably gonna reposition that. I'm gonna find a good place to put the rings there. Maybe something like that. Yeah. And then I'll put the invitations somewhere off there. And I'll just start like haphazardly, just kind of throwing stuff all over the place, right? Again, be very careful with the stuff. It's so easy to just mess something up and start to ruin people's day because you're dealing with rings and stuff like that. Just be as super careful as you possibly can with it. All right, let's see what this looks like in the camera frame. Oh, I gotta take the barrel extender off. If you have a wider angle lens, like a 35 or something like that, usually the focusing distance on the 35 is a lot better than. Okay, so I don't want the rings to be so centered, but I do want them in the light, so I'm gonna put that there. And of course, everyone has their own taste and the way they want to do things, so you can do whatever seems right to you. All right, I'm going to set the focus on my camera to be on the rings and shoot. I'm going to get a couple different angles, some a little bit further away, some a little bit closer. And again, I can find different angles to shoot the rings. Okay, so that's the second type of lay flat. I just call it my messy lay flat. All right. Let's move on to the next one. All right, and a third variation on lay flats. All right, let's go for a different type now. All right, so for this other style of detail shot, I'm going to actually reposition my table here so that it's being front lit directly from the window, right? So the window is lighting it this way, all right? I created a bouquet here. I didn't do a very good job, but there you have it. It's still a bouquet, right? So I'm gonna set the bouquet on the table like that. Let's get in a little closer. I have my shoes here. Actually, I'm gonna switch out these shoes because they're a little annoying to work with. Okay, so I have something that's a little bit more simple. All right, so that's the shoes right there. I might drape this on the flowers or something of that nature. I don't know, that might be a little cheesy. I'm going to put this over here and there. All right, let's get closer. Now, I'm gonna gingerly try to put the rings together into a single shot here. All right, the rings are not gonna stay, so I'm gonna see if I can use some tape. All right, so I'm gonna do is just put some tape in the middle. I'm gonna stick the groom's ring on it. And then I'm gonna try to position the bride's ring inside. And that is a great way to do it. So now I'm just gonna move that over. I'm gonna center the rings in between the bouquet and the shoes. And then now I'm gonna take our makeshift veil and just sort of drape it over the top and create like a small canopy. All right, let's shoot that and see how that looks. So again, the rings are gonna be in the foreground, the shoes and everything else is gonna be in the background. All right, so since you already have your table in this position already, I think what would be really cool is to kind of get a staggered shot of the shoes. Now, because I've already gotten all the group shots, now I'm gonna get individual shots of everything. And so I'm not gonna go through, and there's so many various possibilities of things that you can do in your group, in your individual shots here. I'm not gonna go through everything, but one of my favorite things to shoot are shoes. So this is what I would do. So I would stagger my shoes, and then so that one of them is in the dark and then another is in the light. One other thing that I've done, which I thought was really cool one time, I would set a flash maybe over the far side shoes, like this one with a grid on it, and just light up this shoe and leave this one in darkness, which is really cool. But in this shot, because the light is coming from the window, this first shoe right here is going to be the one that's in the light, and that one would be more in shadow and so on. And this is how this would look. Another thing I like to do is to just put them together, because again, I'm looking for the features of the shoe that it's like, why did this bride choose this shoe? Is it because of the heels? And in this case, the heels are so freaking huge that I'm assuming that it's the heels. The heels are the reason for this. So I'm gonna just put them together like that. And make sure they're symmetrical. So now it's almost as if the heels are like really long legs, right? And so I am gonna shoot the back of the shoes just like that. All right, 3, 2, 1. Bang, that looks phenomenal. Now, since I have the shoes right here, I can also get the rings. And put his ring in one of the shoes and her ring right there. And so I can get another ring shot just like this. Now, of course, you want to go through and get a bunch of different angles, different framing. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Bang. Okay. And then, another thing I like to do well, this shoe might be a little bit difficult to do this on. I'm just gonna find a way to kind of get both of them together. I'm gonna put the rings onto the heel. Uh-oh, we might have to bust out the tape one more time to hold this in place. Okay, that will work. Now too, you can incorporate adding parts of this stuff in there, and the other things can kind of be in the background, just to kind of spruce things up a little bit. Okay, again, I might not shoot all of this in one wedding, but these are just various options because, again, I'm gonna probably just choose one thing and do that. Alright, so a friend of mine is coming over so I can use his rings. So while he's on his way over, this is what the setup looks like. Alright, so probably that's going to be the rings right there, right? I am manual focusing because of the spacer that I have there. I have that Makey spacer that's a 10 millimeter, right? So it allows me to get in really close. So in case you don't have a macro lens, that's something that you can use, right? Now, about a foot away, pointing almost directly to the rings was gonna be my main light. And all it has on it, it has a grid, right? I have on the speed light here, and then I have one of these little adapters from Godox, and also a blue gel, right? And that's what I have on here. And this is just holding it on, but this little thing right here, it diffuses the light. Again, it came in like the AR-50 kit or some junk from Godox, right? I have it pointing up, a little bit up, and behind the rings, right? Why? Let's take a look real quick. What happens when I hit the shutter? Okay, so that's how that looks. All you need is some water in a small spray bottle, right? And you start spraying and you hit the shutter. And the blue light now goes ahead and lights up the water, the liquid, and adds a little bit more dramatic effect. Got that? All right, so we'll see what happens when my friend gets here with his rings. Perfect. And just so you can see, this is the frame without any lights. The flash is off, or the trigger is off, and so that's how it looks. And so when I turn the trigger on, all right, So now that's the image I'm getting. All right, so here is another option that I devised here. So let's actually start with the image and then I'll break it down. So that's how that's looking, right? I think that looks actually pretty dang cool. All right, and so I have now the light is actually pointing down at, well, the subject, which is going to be the rings. The light is actually pointing down a lot more sharply, so I can kind of focus the light on the rings a little bit more, right? And then on this, I'm focusing down on this piece of fabric here. So if your bride has a veil, right? You don't want to crush the veil, of course, but this is kind of very similar fabric to what the veil would be. Okay, so on my main light here, I have it at 1/64th power, right? On my blue light, I have it at 1/16th because it's a strong blue gel, and so you need a little bit more power to push through. On my camera is at 1/60th f5.6 and 100 ISO, and of course I'm manual focusing, right? So that's how that's looking. All right, so now we're going to take a look at how we're going to photograph the dress, and how we're going to hang the dress is always like a thing to kind of worry about, right? Because sometimes there's just nowhere to hang it, right? And so there are these things from command strips, right? They're command hooks. I wonder if this thing will focus. Hooks, right? And so you use these, and you have these sticky command tape type things, right? And then you can stick these hooks anywhere, almost anywhere, right? And so then you have any surface is now a possible area where you can hang your dress. So that's what I'm going to do real quick, because obviously at this area right here, I have nowhere to hang the dress. Okay, so now it's there. And so the way this thing works, I'm going to remove this black part, and I'm going to stick this now to the wall. And so whenever I'm ready to remove it, this little tab underneath, I just pull it. Of course, I don't know if you guys ever used command strips before, but you just pull this little tab and it will release from the wall. It's really cool little invention. Just like how you would photograph a person, that's how I would generally photograph the dress. So I'm going to light it. I'm going to light it with window light. So a nice good place I guess we can go is just right here in the center, in between all this stuff. Let me see. I'm just going to roughly measure halfway here. Right there. So you generally have to push it down and hold it onto the wall for about 30 seconds. That's what I'm going to do right now. Hopefully this thing works, because this dress is kind of an older style. It's a little heavy. Oh, it's a little low too. To tell the truth, guys, photographing the wedding dress is possibly the most annoying thing ever, and I'm generally not satisfied with most of the shots I get from photographing the dress. All right, so again, I'm just choosing a lens that will work for this application here. And what I'm gonna do, again, my light coming from outside here is not that great. I'm just going to pull away the curtains as much as possible to get as much light, and I'm going to turn off the overhead lights. All right, so I'm going to do a nice little head-on shot. I'm trying to frame the dress in between the squares. Now I am trying to get different angles of this dress. I shot a couple vertical, and I'm shooting like horizontal. I'm going to shoot the short side of the dress. So also what I have here is I have a hanger, and that hanger is mine. I actually bring it with me when I am going to weddings, and it just says bride on it. You can get these hangers off of Etsy or on Amazon. And so now I'm just kind of going down the dress and getting close-up details. I'm doing a hero shot of the dress here. All right. And then I might take a high angle if that looks good. All right, and also just a full length side angle here. Lamp in the shot, but I'm just gonna leave it. I think you guys will get the idea anyways. Okay, so that's cool. All right, so there's not gonna always be a time when you're gonna have a window. So actually, I have this tube light. Let me test this tube light out. It's at 100%. I'm just put it where the window is to kind of supplement the light. You know, that's better. That's really helpful. So tube lights are a go. That's a ton better. Why didn't I think of that before? All right. Bink. All the little frilly details and whatever. Because those might be the reason why the bride chose this dress to begin with. So then making sure that you capture the dress overall, but also the smaller details. So that, you know, if later on the bride sells the dress or whatever, then she'll like, oh yeah, I really like that little part of the dress or whatever. So I have here just a Godox V1. Have it attached to a light stand. And I'm just going to, again, from the same position that the window is. Now, when you have a flash, you don't have to worry about a window as much. But, you know, for consistency purposes, I'm just going to do it with the window, just so you can see the difference, right? I'm going to make it, again, just like how you would photograph a person. Just a little bit camera left. And let's see. And I want the light to kind of shine down a little bit. Let me see if that's going to hit it. Yep, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna point directly at it. It's gonna be almost like I'm shooting high fashion with the dress, right? And so let me get my trigger. All right, so I'm gonna set my camera to manual. I'm gonna set the shutter speed so that, wait, let me turn off the trigger. Let's set the ISO. I'm gonna start at maybe ISO 400. I'm gonna do 125 for my shutter speed, and what I'm doing is just setting the exposure, the ambient light exposure, right? So that's the setting I have so far. Now I'm gonna turn on the trigger, my old trigger here. For some reason, that's the one that works with this thing. All right, and on the flash, there's a grid. That's gonna narrow the light. All right, so let's see what we got. Okay, really too bright. All right, let's take it down to 125 here. Okay, I feel like the spread of light is too much, so I'm gonna actually bring this in a little bit closer. Bring it in a little closer, and I'm gonna raise the light head a little bit. Now let's see. Okay, and I'm gonna drop the intensity of the light. I'm down to 1/28th of a second. I'm gonna drop the ISO a little bit more. Okay, that is not bad. And one more thing, I'm going to raise my f-stop a little bit to still limit the light a little bit more. I need it a little bit darker. Yep, there we go. There we go. Just, I'm gonna turn my light ever so slightly to the left. Ever so slightly to the left so that I'm hitting, that the light beam is directly on the dress. Yes, that's it. Got it. All right, get a few more angles here. Yeah, that's it. So in a case like this, I would have to Photoshop the light out of the shot, but that's not terribly difficult. 3, 2, 1. Nice. So it's a very dramatic, kind of high fashion-y look. Again, get a couple of different angles here. One looking up at the dress. There we go. Perfect. All right, so that's hanging the dress on the wall. That's shooting it with a flash. That's using natural light. That's also using a tube light. That tube light is ambifol. All these things, all these different products and stuff like that I'm using, I'm going to be putting in the description. All these products I'm going to be putting in the description so that you have a list. The tube light is actually really cheap, really good tube light to use there. And also, actually one more thing. Let's try out this light that I recently got from Zhiyun. It's a 100-watt light, cob light. Let's see if this would work also. Again, why I like to have these options. First and foremost, this light is so tiny. You can throw this thing inside your camera bag and it hardly takes up any kind of footprint. It has a built-in battery, so all you got to do is make sure that it's charged before you get going on your wedding day. And at 100 watts, you really don't need to crank it up at 100, honestly, because 100 watts is really bright, okay? Let's see if it is a good option, because I'm going to be trying it out on this dress and trying it out in this setting for the first time. So let's see. Ooh, that's yellow. Let's push that up to about 5600. All right, so that is with the light feathered. I'm just going to shoot a couple shots here. 3, 2, 1. You can see the crispness of that of the shadows, which might be what you're looking for. Who knows? Okay, and all right. I know I'm a bit underexposed here, but just to let you guys know, another thing I like to do when shooting a dress. Again, I'm shooting it like the dress is a person, right? And so what I like to do is backlight it. So I have it hanging from my door here. I use the command strip to kind of put it in the center of one of my doors, right? This is the studio doors. And so, but usually I do this in front of a large window. In this case, again, I'm getting shadow side. I'm on the shadow side of the building, so I'm not getting any direct sunlight. The light is, as a result, going to be really soft. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to frame the dress and I'm going to overexpose it. The idea is I'm going to shoot this black and white. It's going to be black and white when I'm done with it. So this is really going to be a super high key image. Right now I'm at 200 ISO. My shutter speed is at 200. I'm trying to frame the dress to the left here. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to take a couple different angles. Nice. Okay. I'm going to try to overexpose this even more. Now that I'm closer, I can go even brighter. So I'm going for pure, almost pure white from the outside. Of course, there's some black cars out there that's soaking up some light, but that's fine. All right, same thing with the details. I'm gonna get some waist side details here. And a little bit to the side. All right, nice. Okay, so that concludes shooting the dress. These are a couple of ways that I've found that works for me in most situations when shooting the dress. Okay, so hopefully that helped. All right, so remember to also like and subscribe for more of this wedding content and for other BTS videos in studio shoots. All right, peace.